Hello, mortals. This is the BookTube goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. Yes, I've been tagged by the creator of the original book tag, Around the World in 80 Pages, Michael Everts, known to everyone as Fit to Be Read. By the way, if you haven't seen Fit to Be Read's channel, you should definitely check it out, especially if you're into science fiction, because I think that's his focus. He's even compiling a top 150 science fiction books, which is hopefully going to be released soon in a series, I believe. And when he does his individual book reviews, he does 5 likes and 5 dislikes. And he is very well read. And we have, I believe, a lot of the same tastes in science fiction. So anyway, he tagged me in his, I believe this is his first ever book tag, Around the World in 80 Pages. And it is hard. This is probably the hardest book tag I've done so far. And the questions I really need to dig for the answer. And if you do this tag, and I suggest you do, think of it as a challenge because it's a challenging tag and you'll be well rewarded for actually finishing it. So without further ado, let's take a look at the prompts.
Around the World Destination 1. Your favorite book set in or has reference to Eastern Europe or Asia.
Well, I think my favorite fantasy series set in an Asian-inspired world is The Poppy Wars by R.F. Kuang. And this is an anti-hero, kind of very dark fantasy, so it may not be for everyone, but I love the series. And also I just read a new book, young adult science fiction, Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao. And that's an interesting one to check out because there's a lot of mech warriors that are as large as Godzilla. It's a different type of science fiction that I'm not used to, but it's definitely, the world itself is inspired by Chinese history and culture.
Next stop, name a YouTuber or YouTubers from a country other than your own.
Well, I have to say Britta Bowler, I believe she lives in Germany, and she is a great booktuber and a great supporter of other booktubers, and her reading tastes are so eclectic, and she has a very engaging personality, and I hope you check her out.
Jaunting over to our 80 pages reference, name a book that you DNF'd, did not finish prior to the 80-page point. A book you stopped reading before you got to page 80. And why?
Well, I don't know if I DNF'd it before 80 pages or not, but I definitely DNF'd it. I'm going to say Martin McLean, Middle Grade Queen, which was about a young, I guess, middle schooler finding drag and becoming a drag queen. And I was actually very excited about this book when it came out, but I could not relate at all with the main character. Most people I know that start being drag queens start as, little effeminate boys who are dealing with things, and none of that was in the book, and it just felt very strange to me, and I actually got a little bit mad about it, so I DNF'd it.
Let's head back to the airport and continue our journey. Name a book that you picked up at the airport. And it doesn't have to be the airport, it could be the train station or whatever. Somewhere where you picked up a book that you had to settle for because you didn't want to be empty-handed, and you were pleasantly surprised by it.
Well, the only book I can remember getting at the airport was Neil Gaiman's Stardust. I believe I had only read the Sandman comic books before then, and I wasn't that familiar with his prose. and I saw this in the airport, and I believe the movie came out. And so it was a movie version copy of the book, but I ended up really enjoying it.
This next one I'm just going to read because I got a little wordy with it. In Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days, Phileas Fogg is a perfectionist, more concerned with his perfection than the amazing places he travels. Name a character that gave you perfectionist vibes, know-it-all, prideful vibes. If that doesn't resonate with you, describe in what ways you are a perfectionist when it comes to any of your bookish habits. Or it could even be a humble brag. So like, take this question and do whatever the heck you want to do with it. This is a tag. Have fun with it.
Okay, I thought about this one a lot. I kept skipping it and coming back to it, and I cannot think of anything that I'm a perfectionist in my bookish habits. I just can't think of anything. I just don't think I am a perfectionist at all. I am a messy reader, and when it comes to organizing books, picking books, however you think about it, I guess my perfection is the chaos in which I approach reading.
We head now to Africa. What is your favorite book or a book that references Africa that you've liked or read?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I can't think of that many books, but I will pick out Wild Seed by Octavia Butler because the main characters, Doro and Anyanwu, that's an important part of their backstory. And yeah, I should read more books set in Africa, but Wild Seed by Octavia Butler, and if you haven't read it, you really should.
This is a fun one that I can't wait to see the answers for. Judging by only the first 80 pages of the book, your favorite book or books that you've read, and then likewise, judging by just the last 80 pages of the book, your favorite book or books that you've read.
Okay, for this one, I'm going to have to pick books that I've recently read because they're fresh in my mind that I can kind of think about the first 80 and the last 80 pages. For the first 80 pages, I'm going to say The Golem and the Genie by Helene Weckler. I did a review about it, and the writing is just so gorgeous. The writing draws you in. It's not a fast-paced plot. It is a writing that is just so well done that you want to keep reading. And for the last 80 pages, I'm going to say The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. I'm going to do an individual book review on that one at some point because I know it's going to be in my at least top 10 of the year. And again, the writing is gorgeous, but for the last 80 pages, the ending for me was very satisfactory. It really tied everything up, and I felt the novel was complete by the time I ended it. And that's always refreshing, especially when you compare it to novels where you aren't quite satisfied with the ending.
Number 8, a book that you love that prominently features ethnic or local cuisine. And by local cuisine, I mean cuisine that is local to a place that is a place that you're not from. So this is a difficult one, so it doesn't, even if it doesn't prominently feature a food, think of a book that even just has a food cameo that is not like, hey, Johnny ate pizza, but something that stands out to you.
Well, I'm going to go back and point at The Golem and the Genie by Helene Weckler because the Golem character works at a Jewish bakery and you get lots of delicious descriptions of the cakes and pastries that they create. And there are other sections in the book that also had very lovely descriptions of food. can't tell you, check out Cullum and the Genie. Not just for the food, but for the story and especially the writing.
As we travel around this world in 80 pages, it's always good to know where we're going and what to expect. Number 9, the last travel or other nonfiction book that you looked at or read featuring a city other than your own. And do you have a story to go along with the trip?
I think the last nonfiction I read was So You Think You've Been Shamed by Ron Johnson, or Don Johnson. I get him confused with that character in Parks and Recreation. Anyway, it doesn't fit this prompt at all. So I'm just going to focus on fiction and pick Anne Rice's books because she sets a lot of her books in New Orleans, which I've never been to. Anyway, by Anne Rice, I'm talking about the Vampire Lestat and especially the Mayfair Witches series, which starts with The Witching Hour. And I really do love that series. But it really delves into the tone and the feeling and the ambience and the history of New Orleans. And I think you could probably pick up as much information from Anne Rice's books on New Orleans as you could a travel book on New Orleans. Just saying.
Haven't quite made it all the way around the world yet, so let's go down south. Give me a book, any book, preferably your favorite one set there, but any book that is set in or references Central or South America.
Well, guess what? I'm going to go back to The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova because it takes place, or partially takes place, in Ecuador. The titular character, Orquídea Divina, started in Ecuador, moved to the United States, and her descendants eventually go back to Ecuador to investigate things. Another book I highly recommend.
Fit to be Read is a science fiction channel at its heart. So let's not just limit ourselves to around the world in 80 pages. Give me a book that references your favorite world, your favorite universe, your favorite dimension. Have fun with this one. Have at it.
Well, I'm going to have to say my favorite fantasy book, Lord of the Rings. And I know it's basic, but I'm in love with Middle-earth and especially Hobbiton, but also Rivendell. And Tolkien really set the bar when it came to world building because he delved so much into the backstory and the languages and the history. Very few authors have approached his world building. And that's what makes Middle-earth so appealing.
Number 12. Traveling the world can be exhausting. This calls for a good book in a great environment. Number 12. In Rita Goldman's Tales of a Female Nomad, Rita left an elegant life in LA to follow her dream of connecting with people and cultures all over the world. What is your dream read in any dream location, real or fictional, of your choosing?
Okay, I've already said Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth for the last question, so for this one I'm going to say Narnia. Narnia is another fictional place that has a very soft place in my heart because of nostalgia. Because I read it when I was young. I've always loved that series. I've reread it multiple times, and I think it still holds up. And how could you not want to revisit Narnia? Okay, we actually have tag challenges. Tag challenge number 1, tag a channel that has 80 or fewer subscribers. If you cannot, you must tag a channel with more than 80,000. Well, that's very easy to do. Just go onto YouTube and search for newbie booktuber. And I found one, Nunchi Goya, which I'll link below, only has 19 subscribers. I believe he is new to BookTube, but he seems very engaging. And Nunchi, if you see this, try doing this tag video. Tag challenge 2, tag a channel you like that has reviewed any of Verne's novels or any of the novels you mentioned in this tag. Okay, well, I do actually know a booktuber who has talked about Verne before, and that is Connor Stampinato. I don't think he does book tags, so I don't know if he's going to do this tag, but check him out. Tag the 8 channels you watched the most in the last 80 days. If you don't want to tag 8, at least tag 1. Okay, I am not going to tag 8 more people, but I will tag 1 more. Guy I watch a lot, helped me out a lot, and that is Break Even Books. Eric from Break Even Books is a great guy. He is so genuine, and I know he likes doing tag videos. And Eric, if you're seeing this, this is a challenging tag, so I challenge you to do it. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell, do all those good things, and until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.